Hello, everyone. Thank you. Welcome to the Air Show. You're, Today, we will have a different subject entirely. I will be talking a little bit about myself today, so every one of you can come to know me, just somewhat, a little bit. I'll give you my version, who I am, and any other version, you will need it from someone else, I suppose. So I will try to be as frank and forthcoming as I can, who I am. One of the reasons why I want to explain who I am is so that my viewers or audience get to know me a little bit, or get to at least know who I am. Now, of course, before I was the heir, I had an earthly name, or I have an earthly name, like everyone else. My name is Freddie Jecklin. Basically, that's my full name. I don't have a middle name. It's just simply Freddie Jecklin. But I've been Freddie Jecklin most of my life. An ordinary person like everyone. Nothing different. Somewhat shortcoming in most cases, of course. But other than that, I was just an ordinary person most of my life. I was born in Africa, near or around about Accra, when I was a child, to a Ghanaian mother and a Swiss father. So I am what they call a mulatto. Half white, half black, mulatto. But I was born in Ghana, and for my first 5 years, I lived there as a child with my mother. And then after that, my father came to take me with him because my father and mother were not married. They were simply dating at those days, or common law. But eventually, because my dad could not really stay in Ghana forever, so he went back home to Switzerland, where my mother did not go with him, and they never got married. But after 5 years living in Ghana, my father came to pick me up, and I went to Switzerland. I went to Switzerland there, near in Kiblis, near Davos area, and went to school there for, I don't know what grade, but my younger grades, approximately to, I'd say, grade 3 or so. And then I went to Zurich to school as well, one of the larger city of Switzerland, Zurich. Went there to school 1 year, and then immigrated to Canada with my parents. So when I was approximately 11 years old, we immigrated to Canada. So I was in Switzerland for roughly about 6 years, 5 years in Ghana, 6 years in Switzerland, and the rest of my life I've been here in Canada, in 2 different provinces. First in British Columbia, and then spent some time and went to school as well in Alberta. So I went to school in both British Columbia and Alberta in Canada. To frankly be honest, I never actually completed my grade school, so I've never completed or graduated school. So I've been self-studied since then. I've been pretty well self-studied before that. When I ended my schooling, I was working with my father. He's a carpenter by trade, professional, from the old country. So we were doing construction, basically. I did a lot of construction work for my parents, and my parents also owned a business, a restaurant. So I ended up working in a restaurant also before my father and after my father. I was already working actually in a restaurant before my father had one. But my grandparents had one as well. They had a restaurant. So my father had a restaurant and a little bit of and a campsite and some other facilities, business facilities, and as well uh, uh, a farm, a small farm, not a large one. My father was farming for in many. We had a large farm, but at that time, at the end of it, was a smaller farm. So my dad had several farms through a time. So we've been farming part time. Lots of our family members are farmers. So farming is one of the things that we did, and construction, of course, and restaurant. Those are my main. And while I did those things, I of course did a lot of studying and acquired a great deal of insight in just about various and everything. And in the construction, because where we are located, we had to basically learn everything in construction, you name it. So I'm very knowledgeable from every trade possible. Basically, I'm very knowledgeable on every trade that there is in construction, because most of the time I was in charge of the site or the building or the construction itself. So, and I've also, after with my parents, mainly my father, because my mother was never really there. So I only had one parent. The other one was my stepmother, as you would call it. So anyway, I had two stepmothers, and that was a bit of rocky going, to be honest with you. So I won't go too much in detail on that. But so I've had my challenge in life. And of course, when I was in business myself, after that with my father, I was in business myself. And I had somewhat of a farm, small farms, several different types from different areas. And I also handled many in produce business. I was in produce business and had various of other type of business, you name it. Just about every type I've probably tried under the sun. Because when I was younger, of course, working and making money or earning money or getting ahead or was sort of the main objective of everything. So I've done a lot of that. And in all fairness, we've done a lot of other things that I might not be able to explain or should not explain at this time, maybe in the future. But we've done a lot of things to earn money and to get ahead in life. But like, no matter what we did, it was always a struggle to get ahead in any time. So it's not, it was a glory or easy. It was all hard work just to get small ways. But even the small ways we made it, we did in generally, I suppose you measured alongside everyone else, we did fine. But anyway, to get a little bit more closer to see how did I transition from Freddie Jacqueline, which I'm still am legally, and to the Heir. Well, that is a bit of a story that takes many years. Now I have to go back in the beginning, right from the beginning, that I've always believed in our God all my life since as 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 long as I can remember. I mean, before 4 years old or whatever it was. I've been dedicated to our God since then, or earlier, or as early as I am aware of, and have never really wavered all my life through it. Now, when I say I was dedicated to our God, I really didn't have a conception of what our God is. Like, I didn't have a picture. I'm just aware of that He's the creator and He's over everyone. So it was a very simple, basic picture that I had, which was good actually. It came to my benefit in the end. So I didn't actually know Jesus Christ or like Muhammad or Lao Tzu. I didn't really know anybody. So basically, I was just believing in God in general, and that has since I can remember. And even when I was younger, I went to church unknowingly. I believe it was a Catholic church. I don't even know which one. I just attended to churches for no reason. By myself, without the family, I just would go. And I read a lot in the script, of course, too. So I've come to understand and know Jesus in that time. But still, my mind was still on God. Jesus was just a character somehow in my mind. So to me, Jesus was not really so known, but God was. I was very well known to God. God was very well known to me. And that's basically, and again, I didn't really have a picture of God or thought of what it might be. Never even thought God would be a human or that. No, actually, never did. Or anything. I never made a picture. It simply was God. But anyway, I went through like that most of my life, all my life, almost every bit of my life, and still do today. So I've come to learn all the others: Jesus, Muhammad, Lao Tzu, Buddha, Ashibikashi, and even the Hindu masters as well. So I've come to know them all, and I've studied them all greatly for most of my time. So I have great knowledge on that, and also have great knowledge in science. I've studied science, and most of my time, and as well, I'm very knowledgeable on history and many things. So I have a wide range of knowledge that I've gathered since I was 4 years old. So it began. I can see it now today when I look back. It began really when I was a young boy, this gathering of information that is needed for the work that I eventually would be doing, which I had no clue of course. So I did gather all kinds of knowledge, wisdom, information from you name it. Any, I can pretty well speak about all of them. So now I have a huge amount of insight in all areas. You name it. I even know how to read music, and I wrote, for example. So I speak several. I speak at least two languages, and on and on. So I have a great amount of, and not only that, I've traveled the world. Not traveled, but I've been around the world. Is the better word. Means most of it wasn't always traveling. It was actually living from one place to another in the world. So I did more than just travel. I actually lived in some of the places, most of the places that I went to, and had the opportunity to be in the world. So I got to see different cultures, different people, different ways, different understanding, and all that. And also, one of the things that I wanted to explain is that most of my life, I've been pretty well, I would say, ethical and moral individual, meaning I do know when it's right and wrong, when what is and what isn't. So I've been able to can determine from what is right or wrong. That's very important because that's one of the pillars required for what I'm doing. Not just the insight, but a great amount of insight, and you also have to have great morality. Okay, that's one of the things I'm trying to bestow within myself, to know what is right and wrong, and I'm very big on that one. Besides the insight or education or learning. But anyway, now, how did I become the heir? Okay, I actually, it's not like I want to be the heir or try to be the heir or knew what the heir was. No, I had no idea about that, but I suppose it was in the making as time went on. But it's about, I would say, almost close to now coming to, well, I know it's well over 15 years, probably close to arriving to 20 years since I've been doing this work here, and it's been a lengthy job that I've had. So it took a long time. Basically, it wasn't something quick. So I've been working on something specifically, strangely, actually. Even though that I believe in our God, I have not really been trying to. It was accidentally how I came to this And it is very important that I suppose share the things that I'm aware of and the things that I know that can be helpful to every one of us somehow in the long term. Now, to make sure that the morality is correct, that I don't have like an agenda, or I'm not pro to anything. And I can pretty well say that I don't really have an agenda and I'm not pro to anything. So I'm very neutral and neutral to everything. So I have no preset ideas or thoughts. No. So this allows me to see things much more clear. So anyway, now what I've been doing is that I've been studying something unique, actually. I've been studying what's known as perpetual motion, and of course the unified theory too. So I was basically that's in science. So I was working on perpetual motion because I had a notion that not that perpetual motion exists in such aspect that something from nothing. No, I don't believe that. That's not the perpetual motion that I'm speaking of. Not something from nothing. So I believe it's perpetual. It comes from something, and that something has to be perpetual in order to give you perpetual, and that's what I worked on. Is trying to find out the perpetual so that we can use it. And after a long, long, long study, and I'm telling you, many trials and error, I've even watched every every what do you call it? Every hoax and every conspiracy tape and everything to see on the perpetual motion. There are some really good ones actually, but they haven't really solved the problem. So I was trying to do that, trying to not be a hoax. Either say whether it's possible or not. But science says it isn't possible, so that's first. Science says it isn't possible because it goes against conservation of energy. So anyway, but nevertheless, even though science says that, I decided to take this work up, not knowing whether it's possible or not. Means I didn't have a preset idea. So I had to find this stuff what would end up to be perpetual, and I did. I actually found it, and that's very easy. You have to, if you want perpetual drive, perpetual motion, you have to find it through something that is perpetual. And the only thing that I could find that actually was a perpetual was the electromagnetic field. That is a perpetual item, and if you know how to harness or get the energy from it, you can use it. I eventually successfully managed to devise something, but I haven't yet brought it out to the world because it's no hurry, because it's yet somewhat. It's just a basic principle understanding of perpetual, more than so that it is a futuristic device yet. That will take a little bit more work, like development in time. But perpetual is very possible for the simple fact you have to use it from a perpetual fuel source, and the electromagnetic of existence, or the electromagnetic field of the earth, or whatever the electromagnetic field of any type that is perpetual. If you know how to tap into that, then you have perpetual drive. Okay, that's how you get perpetual. You can't get something from nothing. So our perpetual drive is from something. So that's why it's possible. It's not possible to get it from nothing. That part I managed to debunk. I've been able to debunk that trying to get perpetual drive from nothing, that's not possible. But anyway, to get to explain a little bit more how I became the Heir, after lengthy time of work, because I applied a lot of my work that I did. I used our God, well, because it was something difficult, right? So I did a lot of meditating and constantly focused on our God for solution, for answers, how to get this perpetual drive. But without me knowing it, I had to do detailed information that I needed in order to create this perpetual device, and that required immense amount of meditation, which I did. And after lengthy time working on these perpetual devices, because I used everybody actually, I used every trick in the book, you name it. I used every insight possible, you name it, conventional and unconventional type, just to be able to come to perpetual drive, which I did. Now, with all that work, because I use God, means I'm a religious person, but I don't really belong to any specific denomination. So I don't, like, I'm not a Catholic or a Seventh-day Adventist or a Jehovah's Witness or a Muslim or a Buddhist. I'm sort of everything. Wherever God is, that's where I believe I belong. I don't really belong to any specific group or denomination whatsoever. I believe I belong to our God. And wherever our God is, and they are really actually in all of the religion that they speak of the same one God. That's where I am. So this is how I am religious. I'm religious that I serve God first and foremost, and then whatever else. So I don't have two masters, like Jesus said, for example. But to tell a little bit more about from where I when I did the work, and once I did all the work, the final work, the work ended up to be to get perpetual drive was what we know as the image of our God. What? Yeah, it was interesting that after 15 years of devising perpetual motion drive, the final work ended up to be the image of our God. That was interesting. Meaning I did never try that. And how do I know that it was the image of our God at the end? Well, because of all my insights and education of all the others previously before me, that I'm able to determine that today, that this is the image of our God, which we are also, as well as in script it says we are created. So I have devised that particular image, but this image is more important than just the image of our God. It's actually the unified theory which science needs. The grand unified theory is known that they're looking for, which is a 3D geometric model. That's what the unified theory will be, a 3D, a 3D geometric model. That's what the unified theory is. And there are a lot of theories out there, of course, today that, they're pushing back and forth. But really, the theory that the only one that works is the electromagnetic field, which is a 3D geometric model. It has, of course, equations within that. For example, how the energy or the way it propels or moves propagation within it. So there's a lot to know, a lot of information in there. That so what is so significant important then? Well, because the importance is that because through time, for example, when we can go back as far, I would like to go back to Lao Tzu before Christ. He came up with the first, actually, the model of the unified theory, which is yin and yang. Then, of course, others came along. Buddha came along, and the Dharma. He did the Dharma, and the Dharma was also the unified theory, but in a very unique way. How Buddha did, actually, I like it. He did a very good job. And then, of course, the next guy that came up, I believe, would have been Abraham in rightful time. Came up with the Hajj, a cube. Interestingly, actually, it's not bad. The cube is not bad, but that's also the unified theory, believe it or not, that cube. And then the next guy came along, I believe, would have been rightful in succession. It was Jesus. He came along with the cross. He was crucified on the cross. That was also very unique, very mystical. Every one of them are mystical somewhat because the reason what makes them mystical because at the time when they came up with it, they themselves were just freshly knew this, so it was very complex to even explain it to the general public. So of course, in time, it becomes easier. Like for me, it'll be much easier to explain than the others could because they started off, and I will show the next part. But anyway, Jesus was the next guy with the cross. Oh, it could have even been one of the others with the lotus flower is also the next one. Now, the lotus flowers is a unique one too, because nobody really did anything on that, just simply showed a lotus flower. But that counts because why? Because the lotus flower represents the electromagnetic field, the way the petals are precisely to it. So it was a genius, whoever came up with that as an example. Well, it's rough, but still, I will accept it that was good work. Just by showing a lotus flower, that's not bad. But anyway, now what we want to do is that because we want to build on all of these guys that came along, every one of them. They all did some work, but we have to come to recognize that they actually did the same work, but just different parts of it, and you have to put it together somehow and understand it. That part might be difficult, but I'll be able to hopefully help with that. That's the purpose behind of me. And the other thing is that not only that, I will be help to show their relationship and that their work, that they were all related and they did the same thing. So what do you want to watch out for is this: the next person that comes along will not be a Lao Tzu, will not be a Buddha, will not be a Jesus, will not be a Muhammad, and will not be anything other than themselves. Someone new. And one of the things that the field shows too, that there's really never two of the same. So we can definitely say that Jesus will actually not come back, not as Jesus as he was before, but it's very likely Jesus will come back in the form like Jesus, I mean similar to Jesus. So you could easily say, okay, that was Jesus, but really in the form of Jesus, he will not return. Nobody returns in the same form. That's one of the rules of the universal rule of existence. There are no two alike, never two of the same occur. So that'll not happen. And so that one is out of the question, that's for sure. Okay. So but you will find that there will be a Jesus-like person that will come along, of course. Right. That could be easily mistaken for it, and also could be considered as such, which that person probably wouldn't argue or disagree because it's a very honorable, very honorable to have Jesus. I'd be confused for Jesus. There's no doubt about it. There must be a great honor to that. So I'm not coming here. I'm not Jesus. Okay, that's the first. I am the heir, which is entirely different. Means what? I am bringing something that is more advanced than the cross. The cross was good, but the problem is that even as good as the cross was, he didn't really explain it to anybody. Yeah, that's the problem. You see, the cross was very good, but he didn't explain it to anyone. See, Jesus was not just crucified on a cross. He was crucified on the focal point. What is that? Well, that's like God. Basically, he had himself crucified on a cross. That's very unique. He was very clever. So, in the essence, what he did is that he replaced himself for God. he replaced himself for God? Yeah, he did. Why? Well, because first of all, God is not a human and does not require to be a human and will never be a human because God is much more than that. But still, Jesus did good, even though he put himself on the cross. But anyway, the subject is not about him. It's more about me, because I'm here to offer the next level of evolution, which means what? Bring you more information than what the last guys did. And one of the more information is that it has to be first explained what they did, and second, I have to offer something more in addition to what they did. Okay, I can do both, which this is why I'm here. But I cannot do both in one tape and one subject or that, because all of them are quite a few. There's lots of them like this. I counted quite a few of these messiahs, and His Holiness and all that. So there's quite a few of them to explain of all of their work and show the integration of that work within what I'm offering, the addition to it. So in some sense, what I'm saying, all of those guys that came before, they did some great work, but yet they were not able to really explain anybody their work entirely because it was ahead of their time and even ahead of their audience, that as well. Well, today it's a little bit easier because our audience are a little bit more advanced. So hopefully I can be able to explain it to our audience and not make it and take the mysticalness out that has been there for millennium. Meaning for millennium there's been a mystical understanding, even like the definition of God, many things. There's just way too much that is just unknown to every one of us. And here I am to clarify the meaning of all of the most important, not of everything. I'll not give you meaning of the small things. I give you the meanings of the most important things that are necessary, that are missing, that are needed. Those are the most important stuff. So I will not tell you how to eat, go to sleep, or how to dress and all of that, or how to live your life, or that, or what religion you should take, and so on. So this is not my purpose for that. Is to lead you to left or right. So I'm not pro anything. I am pro God. That's the only pro I am. I'm not pro anything other than pro God. That's first and foremost. I am the heir. So I'm not pro Jesus. I'm not pro Muhammad. I'm not pro Buddha. I'm not pro Lao Tzu. But I endorse all of them. Why? Because they are good. Every one of them. Okay, so you pick whichever you can. When you pick, whoever you pick is great. You've done great. You can't go wrong picking any one of them. But if you pick me, then you have picked all of them. You understand the difference? You can pick one of them, fine. But if you pick me, you'll find you have all of them. Why? Because I need all of them. They're all important, and they're all helpful, and everyone I endorse. So one is not enough. So I can't use one to fight with the other. No, we're all friends, whether we're from Islam, Christianity, from the Old Testament. It doesn't matter where we're from. Well, what religion? As long as God is in it, we're friends with that. That's for sure. I endorse all of them, and I belong to all of them. So I can't talk bad about one or the other. And I will not tell you, don't go to this or don't go to that, or go to this or go to this. No. But what I will do, though, is draw the errors within each one of them. Or maybe the errors is probably not the right word, but maybe the context of it. It has been maybe taken out of context, a lot of it as well, not just errors. There is some errors in small sense, but yet even small, it makes it big there's mistakes, for example. But as per out of context, a lot of that. So a lot of the text has been taken out of context because there's really no specific central meaning for anything, not even for God. That because there's no central meaning for it, you can easily say that, oh, my God is better than his God. Well, that's the problem. There is only one God. So, so if your God is better than his God, then it's just like saying your God is not as good as his God. What? Yeah, because they're the same God. And so you'll be sort of talking against yourself when you do that. So you have to be smart about that. That they don't have another God, never did. And if you look at all their work, they exactly explain the same God, no different God. Okay, that's very important. So this is mainly what I'm here for. And I find even the best preachers, the best, there are good ones out there actually, very prominent ones. Yeah, extremely prominent preachers out there. I won't name them. Why? Because it's not here to bash anyone. But I find out that they seem to be all pro something, and that causes them to be biased, and not necessarily mislead you, but only lead you to the same narrow window that it always has been. So what we want to do is that broaden that view, the window of view, from the narrow point to a wide view, so that you can see the reality of things, and therefore be more inclusive and open with others, which that itself, I believe, will help create peace amongst us all, especially when religions don't fight. That's a big deal. That's a big start. When religions do not fight, wow, because they come to conclusion that it's the same one God. They don't have a need to fight. But a lot of times the reason why they fight because it's competitive for the amount of followers. Everyone wants to have the follower. Everyone wants you to be their follower. Well, probably I do too, but that's not how it works, right? Everybody gets to choose. Now, I myself probably have 0 followers. And that means then I have also 0 funding. Correct. But that's how it works. So, our work, although we're charitable and we do accept donation, but we don't really receive them because for some reason nobody thinks that we're charitable, or we don't preach that we are so much of it. But yeah, of course, we also kindly accept donation, although we have never received one. Wow. And we will keep going whether we receive funding or not, because at the end of the day, I believe, because I endorse Jesus, for example, I believe in what Jesus said. Give everything, sell everything of yours, and give it to the poor. Now, I'm sure that none of the churches out there could say they're actually listening to any of that, especially the Catholic. See, they preach it, but they actually don't do it. It's more like do what I say, not what I do. That's how I find most of the preachers or the churches. They're a bit of a hypocrite themselves. So we will try not to do the same thing. Be hypocrite and tell you misleading things, and be pro, so that we pro agenda or pro whatever. These things we don't want to do, because we don't want to be pro anything other than pro God. That's first and foremost. So now, a lot of people lately, not in the old days, a lot of people lately, I've been hearing this quite often from the Christians, that Jesus is God. Well, actually, no, he's not. I've done a lot of studying. I would like to say Jesus is God, but he's not. Many reasons. Because first of all, even if you go back in time, in the Jewish religion, they had a name for God. And actually, that name is Jehovah or Yahweh or however you want to pronounce it. But they had actually a name for their God. And I don't know if it would sound really good if they would rename God to Jesus. So actually, God has a name. And Jesus never once said he was God. He maybe alluded to such. He might have been, you could take his text out of context and say, he said he was God. Well, yeah, but he never directly said it. Like directly. Never mind sort of roundabouts. Meaning words that you can take out of context and stitch back and forth and say, yeah, he said he was God. Well, there's probably a lot of that words, but he never said, I am God. That would be so simple. And he didn't, for many reasons. Because in that day, it was a sin to make that claim. And Jesus stood away from that. He definitely didn't sin. That's why he didn't actually make that declaration. He might have made a roundabouts declaration that today can be taken out of context and possibly be considered as that he said he was God, but actually he never directly ever said that. So no matter how we spin it, how we twist it, and every way we like, he never made those direct statements. And so anything else we do beyond that direct statement, we're just making these things up ourselves. He could have easily said, I am God, and said, I have been renamed to Jesus from Jehovah. But I don't remember him saying anything like that. That our God, or the Jewish God, which is the same as our God, Allah, and other names that God has, which is the same God, it has never made a statement that God has changed his name at any point in any time of any religion. I don't remember that any religion makes claims that the God changed name during some time or another. Can anybody show that? And also not only show where he made the direct statement that I'm God, I am God, I am God, and my name has been changed from Jehovah to Jesus. Did he say that? That he changed his name? No, he never did. And that's because he didn't. And another reason, because he isn't. So he can't. But he was very clever, though. And what was he clever about? Well, he knew that the people could never see God. So, but they can see him. Mm-hmm. So he put himself in place, which he was then crucified, putting himself in place of God for those who cannot see God, which is okay. We don't mind that, because I don't think it would make a better God than Jesus. In the absence of God, I think Jesus would be really good. And so this is how I see Jesus. For those who cannot see our God, Jesus is the replacement for such in the absence of our true God. So Jesus is not our true God, but he will play that role because for those people who cannot actually see our real God, which is fine. Nothing wrong, because like I say, in the absence of our God, Jesus makes a great God. Mm-hmm. He does. I've checked him out, and he's truly my brother of the same making, and I would consider him in the absence of God. Yes, he makes a good God. So Jesus is the God of the Christians at the very best, but he's not God of existence and God of this universe. For that, you have to directly go to our God, and he hasn't changed his name in any text, not that I'm aware of. So how can someone confuse Jehovah and Jesus, the two names? Do they sound similar? Are they even similarly spelled? I know they both have a J, I think, but that's about the closest they are. But anyway, somehow people now today are mistaken that Jesus is Jehovah and he is now God. Interesting. You made that transition. And another interesting thing is that what I hear from the Christians to say, Jesus is the Savior. Nothing wrong. But my question is this: what is he going to save us from? Just for curious? Like from the devil? Like from the big bad wolf? You mean from the rotten government leaders that we have, and the rich, and the evil? I think we're going to be able to take care of them ourselves. Why? Well, we will. That's how it's done. You see, the problem of this world is not so much that there is evil. The problem of this world is that when the good people do nothing. So we just got to wait till the good people had enough of it and they get up and do something. When that happens, you'll find out things will start straightening out. See, the problem in this world is not really the evil people. It's the good people doing nothing. That's a serious problem that this world has. And as long as that is so, the world will always have a problem, no matter what, when the good people do nothing. So it's time for the good people to do something. That's what the time is. And this would be the coming of Christ. Is when the good people do something. Okay, I hope all of us out there will do our part. Okay, and I'm going to do my part as the good people. I will do something. I will no longer just hold back. But when I say do something, do it peacefully. Okay, yeah, with no aggression, but with peaceful intent. Yeah, non-aggression, peaceful ways. That's the only way. Okay, like Jesus would do. Yeah, you wouldn't want to do it anything other than that. Okay, then it wouldn't be good. So when we good people do something, we do it peacefully. That's the right way, because at the end, peacefully will win. Any other way will not. So we want to do things peacefully, because why? We are peaceful people. We have no harm intent to anyone whatsoever. And we wish everyone well, of course, because why? This is the whole idea, that we must wish each other well. That's the first and foremost. And then things will get better. And when we wish everyone well, it starts to rub off. And then others may do the same thing. And that's what we want to do. We want to be a good catalyst and a great example. That's the initial thing. So we don't want to do the contrary. That's what I'm here for, is for ethics and morality. Do things in the right way. Now, it's not easy to do things in the right way, I know, because it's tough. But at the very end, it's actually the simplest way, the easiest, and the best. So, I'm here, and I will be telling many stories. Every story will be a little bit different, but they will be really related to a lot to creation, or God, and how to get the benefits from the stuff that our God has to offer, or the information, or the knowledge of such, because they all are useful, actually. And hopefully I will be able to show more things in concrete than just words. For now, I'm just starting in words on purpose, because I need a little bit of practice, and because most of this, all my tape are non-scripted. So what does that mean? There's really what comes off what I already have in my mind, what is known to me. Basically, all of it just I will offer to you little bits by little bits as we go. And I don't know, maybe one day I will script it so that But when it's scripted, it's like we're leading you to a specific area or something like that. And that's not what I want to do. Or it's like pro agenda, or like brainwashy or something like that. So what you can see is that these are things that actually I'm aware of. No, it's on top. So it's not something that I quickly had to research to tell you about. So I'm aware about these things quite well. So I can talk about them anytime. Freely or open, so I don't require the script. To show you the amount of years of studying that I've done, that I'm able to hold a sensible conversation. Yeah, that's the most important. But well, now, last, before I go, because this tape is getting quite long, and I don't want to bore everybody to death with my stories of who I am and why I am the heir. Well, one of the things that I will slowly show you more evidence as we go. I didn't give you enough here, but at least I gave you a bit of an idea and the story who I am and why I am the heir. And this is I've shown it before. This is the emblem of the heir. This is what I am bringing. Jesus brought a cross. Everybody brought something, but I'm bringing this. This is very important, this information. So this is the next edition. I have this in 3D. This is in 2D at the moment with that I'm showing to you, but it's available in 3D, this picture. And it's the same thing as everybody did, but it's a little bit more advanced. And not only is it advanced, I'm able to fill in the information for you now, where before nobody did. Okay, so as you watch my tapes, I will give a little bits here and there because it is lengthy. It's a whole lifetime, a lifetime of information, not only in my lifetime, but many other lifetimes of information I will be offering. So I can only give a little bits at a time, okay? But hopefully you got something out of this, and hopefully you will support and tune in once in a while to see what I got to say, and hopefully you enjoy it. Thank you very much, everybody, and I will let you go because it's getting we're over nearly an hour at this. Okay, see you next time, and hopefully have another interesting subject for all of you.